Scrappy Wife behind scrappywife.com, and today I have a Bible journaling process for you using the devotion Abba Father from By the Well for God. I'm a member of their creative team, so they send me their kits each month, but my opinions are my own, and I love these devotional kits and have ordered them for almost 2 years now. Love how they go through all their different devotions and how much scripture is referenced in the devotional. So today I will be in day 6, Unanswered Prayers, and I'm focusing on Isaiah 55:8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, and your ways are not my ways. And I am going to reflect on how sometimes we might feel like we have unanswered prayers, but really they were just a no, and it's just an answer that we didn't want. And perhaps we need to open our ears and really listen for God's voice. So I'm going to put you on fast forward. I'm going to use some distressed oxide today, do some mixed media techniques, kind of light mixed media techniques, and we'll get going. All right, ready to get going. I have been on a huge mixed media kick lately. I love doing blending and adding inks and different mediums into my Bible. So today I'm going to start with some distressed ink, and I picked 3 colors. I started out with the tattered rose color, but it turned out, you can see it on up there in the upper right hand corner, it turned out to just be a little too peachy for me. So I actually switched over to spun sugar. I'm going to use spun sugar, peacock feathers, and fossilized amber, and you'll see me putting it, I sped this up a lot, putting it in blocks on the page. And I work in this set of 6 blocks where no color is necessarily next to its matching color. And I apply all the colors to the margin, that huge margin on the page. And then you're going to see me, I'm going to wet it down and lift up some of the color to create some spots and some texture there. And then I actually try to wet down the page a whole lot and get the color to run. And it just didn't run like I was hoping it would. See me here, I'm gonna use a lot of water from my mister, and then I even get my finger in there to try to make the color run a little bit more, and I wasn't super pleased with the result. I was kind of looking for more of a blend, more texture. So my next step, I'm gonna dry what I have, and then I'm gonna come in with a stencil to add some texture to this page. Sorry, I don't know where I got this stencil from. I've had it in my stash for some time. It kind of has nonsensical script words on it. And I'm going to use it. I'm going to do a tone on tone technique. So you can see me working with the tones that are in that color, pink on pink and peacock feather on peacock feather, just to create some depth on the page, some contrast. It might be hard to see, but it came with a really nice effect. I was super pleased in the end. And right now it does look a little blocky, but I'm going to continue to add some layers with some different elements to soften that up. I think the peacock feather is really busting out to me a lot, so I'm going to try something different with that here in just a minute. Okay, and I'm going to take this stencil. It's made up of semicircles. Again, I'm not really sure where it's from. It was just in my stash, and some Dylusions white paint. The cool part about the Dylusions paint is that it is not completely opaque, which I kind of like when I'm journaling, especially in my Bible. I'm going to use a paper towel, dab it off, and then use the paper towel to dab it through the stencil. When you're working with stencils and acrylic paint, really it's all about less is more. If you put a bunch of paint on, it's going to smush underneath the stencil and you're not going to get a good impression. Now this isn't going to be perfect, but that's okay. I'm really just using it to soften that peacock feather blue that's going on because it looked a little harsh in comparison with the other colors. So I use the stencil, add it in the lower right hand and then the upper middle part of this page over the top of those blues to give it a softer look. I took some of it out, but But I did make sure that this page was completely dry before I continued, because now it has had ink and water and acrylic paint, and I want it to be dry before I continue. The next step, I've pulled these die cut pieces that came in the kit, 3 different phones and radios, and I trimmed around the edges, cut out some of the extra white that was outlining those ephemera pieces, and I'm going to anchor them here on the page with some washi tape. This washi tape I found in my stash that just coordinates. It has these soft colors of the kit, so I add it here, and I'm going to add these ephemera pieces on top of it, and you'll see me extend the washi tape a little bit more. I always, when I'm putting die cuts on a page, I want to have them anchored in some way so that they're not floating. So the washi tape brings in even more color, brings some of that pink down to this corner, and then it gives the die cuts a place to sit. You'll also see me distressing the edges of these die cuts with that sponge sugar. Just the white that was on it was a little harsh and it popped off a little too much for me. So I used the sponge sugar distress ink on the edges and then over top where some of the white was still showing. Okay, the next piece I'm adding is my main focal point for the page, and it is a very large no. And I really wanted to put this on. My feeling is that God is not ignoring us. God isn't not answering our prayers. I feel like sometimes God gives us an answer that we are not happy with, because sometimes the answer is no. And sometimes the answer is wait, when it is against what we wished, what we hoped for. But in the end, God knows best. And so sometimes we are staring down at this giant no, and that's the answer we've gotten. And so it's not that God didn't answer, it's that He gave us an answer we weren't pleased with. And for this page, I wanted to focus on that no and focus on what my response would be if God told me no. And of course He has in different times in my life when I've really thought, well, if I could just get this job, or if this would just work out, I know that that would be the best for me. And in the end, God said, no, that's not my plan for you. So I put this large no here on the page. These are some chipboard letters. They're kind of a thin, they're not totally thick like chipboard. They're kind of thinner like a poster board, and they have adhesive on the back. Again, I'm using the distress ink to kind of soften the look and make them blend in more with the page. And then I will adhere them right before I do my other paper pieces. These large letters are kind of dominating the page already, but I want them to jump out even more. So after they've been adhered down, I'm trying to add a shadow, and I start off using some of my Le Plume 2 markers because I don't want it to be black. I wanted it to be gray. But in the end, I didn't really like that. I didn't think it jumped off the page much. So then I switched to a distress marker in a darker gray, and I'm really pleased with how the shadowing brings out that no and adds a little bit more dimension. The next step is going to be adding these paper pieces, adhering them on. I use a Tombow adhesive tape runner that works really well for me and my Bible. I haven't had an issue with things sticking, even over washi tape, because sometimes washi tape is slick and things don't stay in place quite as much. But this Tombow seems to work really well. So I adhere my 3 pieces, 2 radios and 1 telephone, as a reminder that when we call on God, we also have to listen. It's not just a one-way conversation. So we have to listen for the answer that we are going to get. Then I grab a tab from the kit. I use some of that same washi tape to anchor the tab Up top you'll see me messing with it a little bit. I want the washi tape to show more, so I add another layer, and then I'm going to cut that tab in half, which I like to do because then I get twice as many tabs. And I will also be adding some of the alpha tiles to the piece. The By the Well for God always sells alpha tile stickers, hard for me to say, with their kits that coordinate in the right colors. So on top of this tab, I'm going to say no, not now, which is just another response we may hear from God that we may not be pleased with. After I finish with those alpha tiles, I'm going to adhere the tab to the top of the page, and then I have the paper airplane die cut that was also with the kit that I've been kind of hoarding. I've been wanting to save it, but luckily there's a stamp that matches it so I can repeat it. And I have that, and it's actually pointing to the area that I plan to journal on. So I like how that turned out. I pull out the stickers and grab one for the bottom that says Mercy and Grace, and then I'm trying to decide. I feel like I'm going to add this telephone sticker, but you'll see me kind of change my mind. I decided I really just want the no to be the center. So I put that back on, and I end up adding a subtitle or more to my title. Instead of just a big no, I take those same alpha stickers that I used for the tab, and I add the phrase, sometimes the answer is, and then a big no. Sometimes it's a big no, sometimes it's a little no, but sometimes it's no, and it's an answer, all in the same. So it's up to us to be listening and tuning in to what that answer could be. Grab my roller date stamp, and I'm going to add the date in the lower right hand corner, and then I will use a gel pen to mark off the verses that I was reflecting on. And actually I ended up marking off 55, 8, and 9. They say, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, and your ways are not my ways. This is the Lord's declaration. For as heaven is higher than earth, so my ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Just a reminder that God knows the bigger story. He sees the whole picture from the beginning of time to the end. And we need to remember that sometimes no is really a blessing. So I write a quick journal up top, and then I will call this page done. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider hitting that subscribe button. If you are also working through this kit, Abba Father from By the Well for God, then let me know in the comments below. Let me know how you deal with your unanswered prayers. And if you haven't gotten a chance to pick up the kit, I do believe it's restocked, so check out the By the Well for God Etsy store. Thanks everybody, and keep it creative.